Maria Montessori was an influential educator who pioneered new methods of instruction and learning. She emphasized the importance of socialization, environment, and hands-on learning, as well as making real-world connections. Her philosophy of education has changed people's view of early learning and development. Maria Montessori, having grown up in the late 19th century, studied during a time where students were required to remember information that was presented through a textbook or a syllabus, and then recall it back on command. There was no room for real-world connections, discussion, active participation. Everything relied on passing exams based on facts and skills that were taught. Montessori stood out in that she resisted conformity, not only as a learner, but as a woman. She was part of a culture where women did not go out on their own or even have financial accounts separate from their husbands. Montessori excelled in school and was accepted into medical school, which was not the norm for women in Italy at that time. After graduating from medical school, Montessori applied her learning to working in a hospital and her own private practice. She was interested in solving problems, so she continued her research in a psychiatric clinic or an asylum, where she began working with children who did not function with their families or in schools. It was there that she had the realization that these children were seeking experiences of touch and feel, and she shifted her focus to learning and development. Montessori began researching and addressing how children with special needs learned. Her collaboration with different organizations allowed her to expand her research to nurseries, schools, and orphanages. Working with these children, Montessori found that education needed to be focused on self-development, activity, movement, and practical experience. Similar to Rousseau, Montessori did not believe that civilization corrupted children, but that environment intentionally planned out could meet the needs of children from very early stages of development, and that was key to the progress of civilization. She believed that the senses need to be educated first, then children's intellect. In addition to planned environments, Montessori found that teacher-student relationships impacted learning as well. Some of Montessori's most influential insights were including the idea that children's development occurred in stages. For Montessori, the ultimate goal in education was focusing on the whole child, for students to be able to control their learning and themselves, and that would eventually lead to the perfection of the human race. Montessori believed that education was meant to help unleash the potential of students, as each child had special characteristics and could be capable of growing society. Montessori schools were established throughout Italy in the early 1900s. Reviews of her book and articles about her work were being shared worldwide in newspapers, magazines, and professional journals. Montessori's book, The Montessori Method, was translated into English and was then accessible internationally. Schools inspired by her work were started, including countries like Italy, Switzerland, France, the United States, Australia, New Zealand, Argentina, Russia, India, Japan, China, Korea, and many more countries. Montessori's methods have continued to impact the United States specifically, with over 3,000 private Montessori schools and thousands of public programs utilizing the Montessori method. There are a number of Montessori education teacher programs internationally. Beyond Montessori schools, the implication of her work has impacted early learning in traditional classrooms as well, with the inclusion of child-sized furniture, hands-on manipulatives, and a focus on exploration and play. Today, much of what she discovered continues to impact teaching and learning in all classrooms. Helping students make connections with learning and real life increases student motivation and interest, and develops reasoning, critical thinking, problem solving, and communication. Maria Montessori lived a life that was different from other women of her time. She stood out as a leader, a doctor, and an educator. The methods she developed through her research were not aligned with practices of that time. However, they made strides in student learning. Her philosophy of education continues to impact instruction and learning today.